So the aim of these conversations is to keep the industry talking and discussing ways to adapt in this terrible year of 2020 that we've been sent. Howard, you're one of my contacts who I think perhaps most quickly adapted your business and have brought a real burst of positivity and a great platform of connection to everyone that we've really needed when a lot of people are still reeling. So it's great to have you. And our first question, can you give us an example of COVID innovation?
Well, I'm going to start by talking about what we did in case it gives people some inspiration. So the UK went into lockdown around about March the 20th, I believe, and we were in the business of running events for people in travel, and we recognised very quickly that travel and events suddenly was going to be very difficult to work in. So someone said to me, well, why don't you run events online? And I had no idea how to do it. So we just quickly went out, looked at what the options were, got signed up for a platform which was WebEx at the time, before we really knew what Zoom was, and because I know quite a few journalists, I contacted a few and said, look, I'm going to put an event on, put some journalists on a panel, and we're literally just going to talk about, how you're coping, what people can do to help you, that kind. And we had 5 top journalists that came along. I called it Social with Media, which was a name that I'd come up with a few months earlier, but hadn't really worked out what I was going to do with it. And I thought, right, well, this is it. This is Social with Media. And so I had 5 people on the panel, threw it out to all my contacts and thought, maybe 20 people come along. We could only get 100 people in, and 100 people signed up very quickly. In fact, we had over 50 people on standby. So I thought, right, okay, well, I'm going to have to do it again. So 3 days later, I got 4 more journalists, and we are talking about, big names here. And I got 4 of them on a panel, and again, 100 people came. So we thought, right, well, this is obviously something people need. PRs need it, the journalists need it. So we decided we were going to do it every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And we, because that week it had taken up so much of our time, we thought, we really need people to buy tickets, because we can't just do this for free. And that week we asked people to make a donation so that we had an idea of what people really were prepared to pay. And from that, we just then said, okay, well, the average price was, whatever it was. We will do this every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. We will get different journalists coming along so that you've got an update from all sources. And people just came. We had the first one on March the 24th, and we ran it until the end of May. We ran it every week. Then we decided to go every 2 weeks because it was just taking up so much time. And by the time we took a break in July, we had done 15 events. We'd had over 600 people come along, and these people had come from all over the UK and all over the world. We regularly had people coming from Japan, from the USA, from Germany, from Greece, and we were literally connecting the world just from this simple idea, which was, chatting to journalists and trying to help people get answers. And then off the back of that, people kind of looked at this and went, right, you guys are the virtual event experts, which was hilarious because we'd never done one before. But so we were approached by people like the German National Tourist Office, the Caribbean Tourism Organisation, who are now called the CTO Chapter UK and Europe. I was contacted by PR companies like Grayling, who wanted me to do events with their clients. And this has been ongoing, and the opportunities just keep coming and coming. We're doing an event with the Israel Tourist Office to celebrate the Jewish festival of Hanukkah in December. We're doing a big event with Destination Canada in the new year to promote what's happening with Canada. The Bahamas want to do something, so it's great. And then we just, because we've entered this virtual event space and we've really worked out what the benefits are, we're putting other things together. So we're now doing a Christmas party in December, because we recognize the fact that most companies won't have a Christmas party, and most people have missed out on networking at WTM and the conferences that have been missed out and things like that. So we're putting on Travel's VirtYule Christmas party, which is open to anyone who works in travel. You buy your ticket for as cheap as £10, or you can reserve a table for £100, where you can entertain your own guests. There's all sorts of different things people do, and people are flooding in wanting to do it because they just need something to happen at Christmas time. So that's going quite well as well. But the thing about virtual events, why it's considered innovation in a way, it's not even, we've been able to do virtual events for years, we just haven't done them because in terms of media, we've always looked at it and said, right, most journalists are based around the London area, So and they all like a drink. So if I put an event on in a venue, giving them a glass of wine, then it and then give them a goodie bag on the way home, then there's that feel good factor, there's that human interaction, whatever. But what we'd actually missed completely was that when you're online, your audience is vast. It's just enormous. And also when you're doing an event, so if I was to take the German events that we did, for example, it suddenly meant that we had people in the destination who could be on the webinar, and we didn't have to arrange for them to get to where we were. They didn't have to come to London. We didn't have to pay expenses to put them up in a hotel, that kind of thing. They literally just did it from where they were in destination, and you still get the same message across to journalists in exactly the same way. The only thing you don't get is that personal interaction which you would get if you're at a venue, but you've saved yourself somewhere around £10,000. So you will kind of weigh it up, and that's why people are suddenly looking at virtual events and going, you know, yeah, it seems to make sense, because suddenly it's open to anyone. And also, you know, if I look at the clients that you have, you know, I mean, if you were to do an event about Western Australia, you can have people in Perth and in London at exactly the same time.
Yeah. So I suppose that leads to the big question of, as we rebuild into next year, do you see physical events coming back in some shape or form, or
yes,
how do you? Yeah.
They will, because we need them. You know, as humans, we need to meet up with people. But I mean, if I look at social with media as an example, when I put social with media together, the idea originally was it'll be virtual, but then we'll take it offline. I mean, before COVID came along, it was going to be a networking club. I just didn't know how it was going to work. So when we put it together, we said, right, when events can start to happen again, what we'll do is, because people were saying to us, please don't stop this, I suddenly feel connected to people that I could never have been connected to before, because I live in Bristol or I live in Sunderland or something like that. So the plan was that we were going to do one virtual event every month and one real event, so that, you know, social with me has to be social. So the problem with the name was we had to work out how the social element came in. So that's why in September we brought in the networking hour as on top of the webinar. So we do an hour of webinar, an hour of networking, so that there is that social element. But the social was going to be, we will find a bar in London and you guys will just come along, and, you know, someone can sponsor it if they want to, a couple of hours drinking, chatting, having a good time, getting together. That will happen. It will happen, but I don't know when. Mostly because the person who I had lined up to be the host of it has been made redundant. So I now have to see if I can find another contact for that venue or another venue. So real live events, March maybe at the earliest. I think in reality we're looking at May, maybe even the summer next year. But yes, real live events will come back. But what I'm hoping is that people will look at it and they'll go, we don't need to spend as much money on events as we used to. That's what I'm hoping.
I think you're right. It's a people business, isn't it? So that face-to-face contact is really valuable. But we've certainly learned from media, trade training and consumer events, you can get such a big audience from virtual. So my last question, if we were allowed to travel right now, where would be the first place you would be jetting off to?
Well, I actually wouldn't be jetting off. I would be driving to Austria, because that's where my wife's family come from, and we missed them, to be honest. And Austria Christmas is nothing like anything you've seen anywhere in the world. The Germans and the Austrians just really know how to do Christmas, so we really want to drive down to Austria at Christmas. In terms of jetting off somewhere, if I could jet off somewhere, it would definitely be the Caribbean. Just find somewhere to plonk myself on a lovely beach and soak up some of that Caribbean sun, drink some lovely cocktails, and forget that COVID existed for 10 days or so. And if I feel even more adventurous than that, I might go further afield. You never know. You never know. Just before this happened, we got all the way to New Zealand. So we definitely go to that part of the world again. Yeah. We haven't been to Australia yet.
Well, that's an obvious one to your list, Howard.
Yeah, we'd love to go to Australia, but not yet. Austria. There's no kangaroos in Austria.
Very true. Well, thank you so much for your time, Howard. It's been great talking to you as always, and best of luck with everything, and speak to you soon.
Do come to our Christmas party.
Absolutely.